UAPs are a real threat to national security. Now, when it comes to UAPs and their previous nomenclature, UFOs, I consider myself the ultimate skeptic. I'm the guy that the CW or the History Channel calls when they want someone to come in and debunk a ghost or a UFO sighting with science. And that's because I come from the Carl Sagan school of scientific thought, in that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I even witnessed an egg-shaped UAP myself while flying on board the E-3 Sentry AWACS over the Gulf of Mexico in 2005. And even then, my brain wrote it off as some exotic piece of technology that our side, the US military, was working on. My sighting is a story for a future video, but now I can tell you that the evidence can no longer be ignored. And I'm going to tell you what changed my mind. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Wes O'Donnell. I am a former journalist who went independent. I covered military technology, cybersecurity, and space, and most recently the Ukraine war. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army Infantry, and I'm a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, where I worked in surveillance radar. And I hate authoritarians. Oh, and I'm in my final year of law school because everybody loves lawyers, right? So, what changed my mind on UAPs? Well, in 2019, several U.S. Navy fighter pilots came forward to disclose encounters they experienced with unidentified flying objects while performing training missions off the U.S. East Coast in 2014 and 2015. These encounters mirror events involving the USS Nimitz and its air wing off the Baja coast in 2004. Both events have their share of witnesses, from highly trained fighter pilots to crew members aboard the Ticonderoga-class cruiser USS Princeton, and witnesses aboard an E-2C Hawkeye airborne early warning and control aircraft. These men and women represent some of the most credible observers of what the Navy is now calling Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, or UAPs. According to reporting by Tyler Rojaway at the War Zone, quote, "The main revelation is that technology exists that is capable of performing flying maneuvers that shatter our perceptions of propulsion, flight controls, material science, and even physics," end quote. Rojaway emphasizes that the Nimitz encounter with the tic-tac-shaped UAP proved that exotic technology that is widely thought of as the domain of science fiction actually exists. It is real. It isn't the result of altered perception, someone's lucid dream, a stray weather balloon, or swamp gas. Someone or something has crossed the technological Rubicon and has obtained what some would call the holy grail of aerospace engineering. Until now, I believed that UAPs were advanced technology from the US military. So why would I think that? Well, first, the US has been pouring tens of billions of dollars per year into the so-called black budget since at least 1947. That budget funds black projects that are classified top secret, not itemized, and are used for intelligence operations and super secret squirrel advanced military technologies. In fact, the 2025 black budget is a record-breaking $99.6 billion, which means that a dime of every defense dollar is so secret that even most of Congress is unaware of it. Putting a program in the black budget doesn't just mean Congress can't check up on it, but that its very existence won't be acknowledged, and that its price tag generally won't be revealed. Black programs are usually classified as sensitive compartmented information. There are more than 10,000 compartments, each with a specific code word. Someone who has the code word for one compartment can't have access to information about a black program in another compartment. Now, while I was in the Air Force, I had the opportunity to chat with a visiting employee from Skunk Works, Lockheed Martin's Advanced Development Programs, ADP, when I jokingly asked him what he was working on, not expecting a true response. He became very serious and he said, "All I can tell you, Wes, is that Star Wars isn't just a movie. In an interview with Popular Mechanics, the late Skunkworks chief Ben Rich said, quote, "There are some new programs and there are certain things, some of them 20 or 30 years old, that are still breakthroughs and appropriate to keep quiet about because other nations don't have them yet." End quote. The next reason I thought UAPs were human and US made is that the US Air Force and the Pentagon have a long and storied history of performing disinformation campaigns, often using the deep pop culture roots of UFOs to hide advances in aerospace technology. When national security is on the line, it's better to have the public believe they saw a UFO than disclose the newest breakthrough. A report by the New York Times in 1997 shows that the CIA and the Air Force promoted UFOs to cover up sightings of their U-2 and SR-71 spy planes. That makes sense because in an open society like ours, where the government cannot easily control the flow of public information, disinformation is the only viable option to maintain a degree of secrecy. For its part, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations is an expert at controlling information. Finally, I thought the UAPs were human because it is crucial to note the parameters of the sightings by the Nimitz off Baja and more recently off the U.S. East Coast. Both crews were operating in a sanitized training environment. The aircraft were not armed because no air crews were expecting a fight, and civilian traffic is largely diverted from active military ranges. In addition, the Nimitz was fielding a massive new upgrade to an advanced radar system for the FA-18 Super Hornet, and also a new cooperative engagement capability technology. That capability implemented data link and sensor fusion technologies for the entire carrier group, which provided advanced fidelity in the radar picture. Imagine taking radar and sensor data from all the ships and aircraft in a carrier group and combining it into a commanding, real-time view of the battlefield. Such a massive upgrade system was being tested for the first time when the Nimitz had its first encounters with the now famous Tic Tac UFO. It occurred to me that a sanitized training environment and an incredible new sensor upgrade create an ideal testing condition to see if our own team can spot top secret undisclosed aircraft. But I've changed my mind. I do not believe the UAPs are ours, nor do I think they're any other nation's. Here's why. If the unidentified craft are ours, why were they operating dangerously close to our fighters? The Navy pilots reported a near miss and stated that an object appearing to be a sphere encased in a cube almost caused a mid-air collision. Other Navy pilots interviewed said the near miss angered the squadron and convinced them that the objects were not part of a classified drone program. Government officials would know fighter pilots were training in the area and would not send drones to get in the way. The other issue is the physics-defying performance of the craft. No matter how good our team is at aerospace development, it's unlikely that we have found a way to break the laws of physics as we understand them. What was strange, the pilot said, was that the video showed objects accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and instantaneous turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew. Now, I used to think that the US government wasn't competent enough to hide UAPs from the public for over 75 years. And then I realized that they don't have to. They could partner with Lockheed or Boeing or any number of defense contractors who, as corporations, are essentially immortal and have no obligation to respond to freedom of information requests. Indeed, there is no better place to hide advanced non-human craft to be reverse engineered than a corporation that can live forever and has no accountability to the American public. But I think the icing on the cake for me was that I just read this book by Lou Elizondo called Imminent. Now, I'm not sponsored by the publisher or anything like that, but I know Lou Elizondo. He doesn't know me, but we served in the military at the same time. And his reputation is unimpeachable. If even 10% of the things he claims in this book are true, then we are confronting an astonishing truth. Someone or something is operating aircraft that are far more advanced than any known aerospace technology currently in existence. It can penetrate US-controlled airspace at will, and there's absolutely nothing we can do to stop them. That, my friends, is a national security threat worth paying attention to. For its part, the US Navy has recently changed the way it handles UAP reporting, providing an official channel for service members to report unidentified craft incursions into US airspace. This is a huge pivot from previous Pentagon public information. It represents a significant first step at destigmatizing what military aviators have been witnessing for decades. After all, if near-peer level adversaries like Russia or China have made the technological leap to aircraft that seemingly defy the laws of physics and violate sensitive US airspace at will, then the US military should want to know about it. No more hiding our heads in the sand. But while this pivot in reporting is a good start, the government knows more than it's letting on. The Pentagon likely believes that admitting that there are craft that can outperform anything that we have would embolden our adversaries. Maybe, but that reasoning by itself is not enough to justify keeping such a big announcement from the very people who fund the government and trust it to operate in our best interest. I believe it's time for full disclosure and let the American public decide what this news means for the future of our country. That's it. Subscribe if you're not already. It really helps the channel grow. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. Slava Ukraini.